Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitan Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Manapitya Pitya Kutyam Rapayano Varakatara Ajuhava Putetitan Maitaya Taravo Benedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptashta Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitram Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Pancha Kalpataruvascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, continuing on with the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhyakanda, now chapter 13, the deliverance of Jagai and Madhai. And we always begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta, Om Avishnu Padasto Tarsat Sri Simad Abhaya Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Padasto Tarsat Sri Simad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and unto our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. So this chapter, so many important lessons. I'm just going to let it speak for itself. There's so much here about the incredible mercy in the Kali Yuga from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, invested in his devotees and in the holy name itself. And no sin, no matter how egregious, can stand before the mercy of the Lord and the power of the holy name. And yet, within this chapter also, there's a distinction between sin and aparad. And aparad, very difficult to cross beyond that when you're dealing with Vaishnava aparad, deep nam aparad. Vaishnava aparad is included in nam aparad. Anyway, we will see that. So, text 1. Ajanu lambika bujo kanakavadato sankirtanaika pitaro kamalaya taksho vishambaro dvijavaro jagadharma palo bande jagat priyakaro karunavataro. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, whose arms extend down to their knees, who have golden yellow complexions, and who inaugurated the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Their eyes resemble the petals of a lotus flower. They are the maintainers of the living entities, the best of the brahmanas, the protectors of religious principles for this age, the benefactors of the universe, and the most merciful of all incarnations. Bande Jagat Priya Karo Karunavataro, the most merciful of all incarnations, the benefactors of the universe. So, Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Sri Gaura Sundar, Jaya Nityananda Sarva Sevya Kalivara. All glories to Mahaprabhu Sri Gaura Sundar. All glories to Nityananda, whose body is the object of everyone's worship. Purport by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. The phrase Sarva Sevya Kalevara, Jaya Nityananda Sarva Sevya Kalevara, is described as follows. Sriman Nityananda Prabhu is Swayam Prakash, or the personal manifestation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the worshipable Lord of everyone, both individually and collectively. From him, Karnadakshayi Mahavishnu who is the cause of all causes, Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, who is the supersoul of the collective living entities, and Aniruddha, the localized Vishnu, that's Paramatma, Shirdakshayi Vishnu, are all manifest. The supreme worshipable Lord of all, Krishna, accepts the service of Nityananda, who is the embodiment of all service. Nityananda is served by all objects emanating from all of Krishna's energies. So that name, Swayam Prakash, Prakash means manifestation, right? But it says Swayam, that means his own personal expansion or manifestation. All the other avatars, incarnations, they're coming from Nityananda directly or from his further expansions. But Nityananda is a direct expansion of Mahaprabhu himself. So, and from him come the two Chaturvyuhas, and from the second Chaturvyuha come the three Purusha avatars, mentioned Karnadakshayi Mahavishnu, cause of all causes within the material realm. Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, he calls him the supersoul of the collective living entities, because he's kind of like the soul of each universe. He enters into each universe and lies down on the Garbhodak ocean, right? And then Shirdakshayi Vishnu, the localized Vishnu. That means the Vishnu form that accompanies every living entity, right? And as also within every atom. So the Lord in that way is all-pervading and all-worshipable in his different features. And Mahaprabhu, Krishna, supreme worshipable Lord. And he accepts the service of Nityananda. Now here, listen to this again, who is the embodiment of all service, right? And then Nityananda is served by all objects emanating from all of Krishna's energies. So Nityananda is the first. He embodies the principle of seva, right? But he is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is also the object of service for all other living beings and all within the spiritual and material worlds. Right? So, He namatte navadvipe prabhu vishrambar kridha korina he sarva nayana gochar. In this way, Lord Vishrambar performed pastimes in Navadvip that were not seen by everyone. The pastime we just heard about was in the midst of his intimate disciples. Right? To them, he encouraged and gave the mercy of taking the garment remnants of Nityananda Prabhu and drinking the water from his feet. Some pastimes took place in smaller groups at the house of Srivas Thakur, Shuklambar Brahmachari. Oh, I couldn't remember his name yesterday. Such a dullard. Shuklambar Brahmachari, very intimate associate. Mahaprabhu first revealed confidential secrets of his now acquired or revealed devotional sentiments in the house of Shuklambar Brahmachari, and so many others. But then there were pastimes that were shown to the broader audience in Navadvip, right? So, in this way, Lord Vishrambar performed pastimes in Navadvip that were not seen by everyone. Purport by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. The pastimes of Sri Gaur Sundar are perceived only through the eyes of love. Therefore, wherever there is an absence of love, the Lord's pastimes remain unseen. You know, I was thinking about that this morning, recently more and more, because we're chanting, we're doing our service, but so much, at least of me, I do just mechanically. Okay, I got to chant my rounds. I'm doing my duty. And, you know, there's some connection, there's appreciation with, you know, Guru, you know, Srila Prabhupada, who gave me these mantras. And out of, you know, appreciation, I'm chanting these mantras, chanting these names. But it occurred to me, I could just do this forever on the level of duty, out of respect for the Shastra, fear of the Shastra, guilt, duty, whatever motivates. But until you get to the point of love in that expression, in that chanting, you're not going to get the result that we're looking for, right? And he's saying here that the pastimes of the Lord are unseen until we have that love. And in the same way, Sri Nam, Nama Chintamani, Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purna Shuddha, Nitya Mukta, Binad Vandamanamino. The name of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. Krishna's name, Nama Chintamani, Krishna's. The name of Krishna is like Chintamani, has the quality, whatever it touches can become completely spiritualized, awakened. Chaitanya, fully conscious, this name. Rasa Vigraha, the very embodiment and form of rasa. What is rasa? Rasa is the exchange of love between the devotees and the Lord himself. Purna, Shuddho, Nitya Mukto, completely pure, eternally liberated. Vinad Vandamanamino, not different from Krishna. So, and we have to be conscious of that. And as much as possible, when chanting, think that, oh, I want to chant with love. I want, when I utter your name, to feel love for you, and I want to feel your love for me. Right? Wherever there's an absence of love, the Lord's pastimes remain unseen. Sri Gaurasundara is perceived only through the eyes of love. And in the Brahma Samhita it is stated, this is one of our Srila Prabhupada's favorite verses also, 38th verse of that Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santaksa daiva hridayeshu valokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunasarupam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the salve of love. It says here the pulp of love. Srila Prabhupada always translated the salve of love. You know, like in medicine, you know, they put salve on your eyes to correct your vision or to improve your vision, right? The salve, eyes anointed, premanjana, churita, bhakti valochanena, right? The salve of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shama Sundar, situated with the heart of the devotee. Right now, within our heart is the form of Paramatma. But when we become greatly advanced and purified, then Krishna himself comes to sit in our heart. That Shama Sundar will be there. Loke deke purvejena nimani pandita antirikta arakichu nadeke charita. Ordinary people saw him like before, simply as Nimai Pandit. They could not see anything of his characteristics beyond this. This is very interesting. They saw him as he was before. He purposely, by his Yogamaya, covered himself before the eyes of ordinary people, and even his devotees. They did not recognize him, could not detect who he was. They had unflinching love for him, that couldn't be covered. But they didn't know why, and they didn't know of his identity. Right? In fact, they were distressed because the object of their love didn't appear to manifest any devotional sentiments, and that caused them unhappiness. And so they would pray, oh, if only Nimai, if only Nimai would become a devotee. Right? But that was another part of his pastime, because he's showing through his own actions how bhakti actually develops, how it begins, how it develops, how it matures. He went through that as a leela to teach. And so the first thing was connection with devotees. Every day he'd relate with them and deal with them, and they would express a desire that he be a devotee. They'd offer blessings. This is important. This is the accumulation of great bhakti sukriti, right? And of course he worshipped Tulsi and Shaligram in his house and all that, but it was the blessings of the devotees. And then he met Ishwar Puripad by chance, so-called chance, in the streets of Navadvip. Before that, used to tease the devotees, like Mukunda and Gadadhar. And he would say things that would upset them, and then he would say, I know you don't want to talk to me because I am not a devotee like you. You're such a great devotee. Even from birth, you've been a great devotee. He would praise them. He says, but I will tell you, one day I will become such a devotee that even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva will honor me. And of course, that upsets them even more, because he's speaking the truth, but he's hiding behind the arrogance of the scholarly pastimes that he was involved in. The arrogant, proud Nimai Pandit, the scholar who nobody could defeat, who would taunt everyone. So he was taunting them in this way, but he was also speaking the truth. But he met Ishwar Puri, and then they became so attracted to each other, they stayed together the whole time while Ishwar Puri was staying at the house of Gopinath Acharya. And Mahaprabhu would visit him every day, and they'd spend hours talking. And then soon after, Ishwar Puri left, and Mahaprabhu went to Gaya in order to do the Shraddha ceremony for his father, apparently. But there was Ishwar Puri, and his love had matured by his further association with a very specific devotee and his deep attachment to that devotee, and hearing from him, then he took initiation and he was completely transformed. Right? And his devotion was uncovered. But ordinary people, they didn't detect that. They couldn't understand that. And they saw him only as Nimai Pandit. And by this time in the story, he'd already revealed to his devotees his Bhagavata at the house of Srivas Thakur. They knew him as the great devotee incarnation who had come to deliver the Yuga Dharma in Kali Yuga. So he was expressing his sentiments as a devotee to teach to the world the principles and the process of devotion and the chanting of the holy name. But the others in Navadvip, they just saw him the same way. So the descriptions of his beauty, his effulgence, his eyes, all of that, they couldn't detect it in the same way that the devotees detected it. They could not see anything of his characteristics, just the same that they had seen before. So, Yakana pravishta hoya sevakera mele, takana basena sehi mattakutu kale. When the Lord entered into the association of his servants, he floated in happiness. He would reveal himself to each devotee in proportion to the devotee's good fortune. When he left their association, he would conceal himself. That's a very interesting verse. I'll say that again. He would reveal himself to each devotee in proportion to the devotee's good fortune. When he left their association, he would conceal himself. See? So, in the purport, Saraswati Prabhupada says, since the absolute truth is omnipotent, the living entities who are fragmental spiritual parts and parcels see the Lord according to their respective devotional qualification. there is no possibility of seeing the personification of all love through vision that is based on external knowledge. Rather, he remains hidden. That is why he is known as Adhokshaja, or he who is beyond the perception of material senses. So just as the deity will appear to us in the form as if they're brass or marble or some composite or earth or painting or jewels, we see them as our material eyes see them. But if you do deity worship, either directly on the altar or serving in the community of devotees, serving one's guru, according to the quality of that service, you'll begin to develop a different vision of the deity. Right? And some might say this is sentimental imagination, but it's not. You may see the deity in more and more beautiful ways. Some days they'll just appear particularly beautiful. They're the same form, but they're revealing themselves more to you. You may feel more of a connection, more of attachment, more eagerness to do service, more eagerness to become purified of the obstacles to seeing them directly. So many stories of that, of devotees who came to the point of actually speaking, interacting with the deity directly as a person. Sweet stories, beautiful stories. I don't want to tell any right now. We all know so many. But that goes for our deities as well. And so we have a great opportunity. That's why everything we do, when we cook, right, when we clean, and not just the altar, but the kitchen, that's the extension of the altar, the whole temple room, the whole grounds, everything is their property, their dham. This is their dham, right? So everything that we do and how we deal with the devotees, Mahaprabhu, he become very happy in the association of devotees. Are we happy in the association of devotees? Sometimes not. That's on us. That's on us, right? So Saraswati Prabhupada says, since the absolute truth is omnipotent, the living entities who are fragmental spiritual parts and parcels see the Lord according to the respective devotional qualification. In other words, they're adhikar. Are you Kanishta? What grade of Kanishta? Are you Madhyam, beginning, advanced? So many, millions of subdivisions. Are you entering into Bhav? Are you a Premi Bhakta? Are you situated? Are you an eternal associate? Even amongst the eternal associates, there are gradations of moods and love. And so he would, according to that, he would reciprocate. And that's not what you would call a discrimination on his part. He's reciprocating according to how the devotees want him to reciprocate with him. Each devotee in their own relationship is completely happy and satisfied, whether one is a servant, a friend, a parent, a beloved, whether one is in Vrindavan or Dwarka, Mathura, Ayodhya, Vaikuntha. Every devotee situated wherever is situated according to their own desire, and they're completely competent and happy in that. When Gopakumar remained in cowherd dress when he was in Vaikuntha, the place of Lord Narayan, the people there said, "What are you doing in this cowherd dress? Why do you want to go to Vrindavan? What is there?" Just like Srivas Thakur was joking with Sup Damodar. Look how beautiful my goddess of fortune is, so opulent. Jewels and servants and power. What is in your Vrindavan? Simply some flowers, some minerals, right? It's so basic, rural, In his vision, the goddess of fortune was the best way to worship the Lord. And so, according to your respective adhikar, Krishna will reciprocate happily. He goes on to say there is no possibility of seeing the personification of love through vision that is based on external knowledge. Rather remains hidden. You can't approach the deity, you can't approach the Lord by logic by argument, by good speaking. What is that? Nayamatma Prabhachatena Labyo. Something, anyway, none of these qualifications will give you that vision and that experience of loving exchange. Krishna will be hidden. He's known as an hokshaja, beyond the perception of material senses, material intelligence, material logic and reasoning, none of that. Material emotion. So then, ek dina achambite hoila hena mati agya kaila nityananda hare dasa prati. One day, the Lord suddenly ordered Nityananda and Haridas as follows. Okay, here we go. Purport. Those who are able to become akinchana are not greedy for any material object. Without becoming akinchana, the necessity of the absolute truth is not realized. Right? Akinchana means, without possessions or attachment for possessions. Right? Queen Kunti says that. You were the property of Tom Akinchana Gocharam. Janmaishrayas Shuta Shribir Edamana Madat Puman. That great wealth, beauty, great scholarship and knowledge, these things are, the desire for these things can create great obstacles for loving you, because they can result in pride, in one's possessions and accomplishments. But you are really the property of the akinchana, right? Those who feel they have nothing. And even a great king can be akinchana if he has the realization. Yudhishthira Maharaj, one time, Krishna asked a benediction. So he said, I want to be, and he said some description of super wealthy. And Krishna began laughing. He said, what? You are like more renounced than any sage, any sadhu in the forest. I'd never imagined that you would ask for anything like this. Why are you asking for this? And he made him laugh. And he said, well, as you know, I don't really care for any of this, but everybody who sees your devotees, they are so detached, and many of them are like beggars. And many who become your devotees become beggars. And so people in general are afraid to become your devotees, right? So if you give me great opulence, and I'm a king, but I'm known as your devotee, and he was known as the devotee. He's one of the three Haridasas, right? In the Bhagavatam, the great devotees, he, Uddhava, and Giriraj Govardhan. Then they will say, oh, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he's the greatest devotee, and he's wealthy, but he uses it all for Krishna. I can also be a devotee. I'll use whatever I have for Krishna. So, Kinchana means that absolute detachment and knowing that everything belongs to Krishna. Yukta Vairagya Uchate, right? That, it means knowing that everything belongs to Krishna and use it for his seva, his service. So without becoming a kinchana, the necessity of the absolute truth is not realized, right? Because you think, well, what do I need God for? I'm already wealthy. I've got everything I need. Why do I have to pray to God? God, beggars and ugly people pray to God, I'm so handsome, I'm so beautiful, I'm so rich, I'm so powerful, I'm so popular. Such persons are attracted by the opulence of perishable objects. Sri Nityananda Prabhu appeared in a Brahmana family that engaged in study of the scriptures. In the worldly identification of Thakur Haridas, there were no such Brahminical birth, nor such Brahminical activities. During Sri Chaitanya Dev's manifest pastimes, sinful persons like the Shakas, the Greeks, and the Yavanas lived in various parts of India. Since Navadvip was the residence of many classes of foreigners coming from beyond the Sindhu River, there was a great deal of discrimination amongst the residents of Navadvip. That is why the exemplary preacher, Lord Gaurasundar, engaged two great personalities who were fully absorbed in devotional service to preach amongst the communities of persons belonging to both faiths. Realizing that people of the Aryan culture and the Yavana culture would not listen to each other, the qualification for chanting the name of Hari was given to both, to make it known that both have an equal right to engage in devotional service. What a charming understanding, that Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu did many pastimes together. And this is going to be a very powerful and in some places amusing pastime. Because from the social spectrum, they were completely opposite. Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family, complete outcast, outside Varnashram Dharma completely. And people who were situated in Varnashram also had the misconception that, well, Brahmins are the topmost. In order to be considered civilized at all, you have to at least be situated in some way in the Varnashram, even if you're a Shudra, or better Vaishya, better Kshatriya, best Brahmin. See? And then there's the Vaishnavas, but they demanded that the Vaishnavas be situated within Varnashram. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually gives general instruction that for peace of mind for people in general, generally devotees act within the constraints of Varnashram and observe the social rules and regulations and customs of it. But in fact, there's no real necessity for that because a Vaishnava is higher than anyone in the Varnashram culture who's not a Vaishnava. But in order to preserve the social order, which is designed to gradually bring people up, we generally follow the social do's and do nots, right? But for preaching now, and this is very charming, I don't remember reading this, that he had Nityananda and Haridas together because one represented the Yavana, the person completely outside Varnashram, and the other topmost position in Brahminical culture. So people would see them together, and if you were a Muslim or a Yavan or something, oh, well, he was one, and look at him. He's so high, he's so respected. Or if you're Brahmin, oh, I don't know why he's with that Haridas, but this is Nityananda Prabhu, topmost of Brahmins in so many ways. So it gave pause for thought, impetus, to consider how broad and deep Vaishnavism is. And there's very nice chapters about that in the Jaiva Dharma, particularly chapter 6. You can read that big, long discussion about the comparison to Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, and what Varnashram is in relationship to Vaishnavism. So now Mahaprabhu is saying, Shunna Shunna Nityananda Shunna Haridas Sarvatra Amara Agya Karaha Prakash. Listen, Nityananda, listen, Haridas, go out and preach my order everywhere. Purport. The Lord's order is meant for everyone. Those who are outside Varnashram, those who follow Varnashram, those who are beyond Varnashram, all living entities, all plants, the animate and the inanimate, individually and collectively, according to their ability, all should accept Mahaprabhu's orders. It's the vision of a great, this vision of Mahaprabhu himself, God himself, and he's being described by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Don't just think it's humans, don't just think it's those within India. You know, that's one thing, even in the modern day, many people who live in India who take up the practice of bhakti, they still hold on to this bodily conception that somehow or other being born in India makes you more qualified. Oftentimes people that are born in India, we see that they have accumulated very favorable devotional samskaras. And they are raised in a culture and an environment that's very favorable for bhakti. They learn Bengali, they may learn Sanskrit. They're taught discipline and self-control at a young age. However, the majority of Indian people are following the Western example, and they're grossly degraded and ignorant of their heritage and opportunity, right? And if you become proud, like sometimes Bengalis get very proud. Oh, Mahaprabhu, he's one of us. Yeah, but Mahaprabhu, he's described as Patit Pavan. He descended to save the most fallen. So the fact that he chose to appear in Bengal means you're the most fallen. Tease him in that way. Some are. Many are not. Many are not. The point is, everybody's eligible, even the grass. Mahaprabhu, he went through the Jharkhand of forest, liberating animals. So many stories. Even his devotees doing the same thing. He goes on to say, Prati gore gore giya kare e bhiksha, bala Krishna bhaja Krishna kara Krishna shiksha. Famous verse. Bala Krishna bhaja Krishna kara Krishna shiksha. Go to every house and beg in this way. Chant the names of Krishna, worship Krishna, follow Krishna's instructions. Purport. A bhikshuka is dependent on the donor. He's saying, kara e bhiksha, go do bhiksha, go beg. Dependent on the donor. Therefore, knowing that the bhikshuka is situated on a lower platform, the higher placed donor becomes compassionate on him. To beg for someone's favor is called bhiksha. The higher placed donor comes down from his platform and uplifts the needy bhikshuka. Realizing that when Nityananda Prabhu, the Lord of the 14 worlds, and Namacharya Thakur Haridas, the grandfather of everyone and the best of pure devotees, how is he the grandfather of everyone and the best of pure devotees? Because he's a combined incarnation of both Prahlad Maharaj, best of devotees, and Lord Brahma. Right? A special story about that. They would go begging alms in the dress of bhikshukas, wealthy people who have no alms suitable to offer them. Gaurasundar employed the act of begging alms to bring those people to the transcendental kingdom. Actually, what do these people have to give to Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur? Nothing. But by taking up that role, they're giving people the opportunity to offer something and get transcendental credit beyond their imagination. Actually, we're doing the same thing. Every time we cook for the deity, we're offering to them. When we're doing our archan in the morning, we're getting incalculable benefit. And even more when we cultivate that mood, that humility, So when we're singing before them, how many times when you sing before them, you're thinking, oh man, I don't feel like singing today. When's it going to be over? I want prasad. I want to go take a nap. No, beat your mind. I can talk like that because I know how my mind works. Beat your mind and realize the extraordinary fortune that we have. The Lord has entered into our place where we live to accept our service, and that's why he was sending them out like this. The phrase Bala Krishna is explained as follows. Words that are not related to Krishna are more or less products of avidvad rudhi, or the conventional meaning of words according to persons who are not enlightened. When a word's vidvad rudhi, or conventional meaning according to enlightened persons, is realized, it indicates Krishna, and such meanings are non-different from Krishna. These terms, vidvadrudi and avidvadrudi, he uses a lot. Vidvadrudi, the conventional meaning according to enlightened persons, right? Diksha, performed according to vidvadrudi, right? Means that one has actually absorbed and received, realized pure holy name in that receiving of mantra, right? whereas the Anukstani means avidvadruti. You've gone through the process, but you don't have realization yet. And it will gradually come by practicing. You're beginning the process of initiation. Real initiation means that on the spot, you've really understood and you become enlightened in that act, as did Mahaprabhu. He showed that, what that means. As soon as he received that mantra, he became maddened. So, when a word's vidvadruti, or conventional meaning according to enlightened persons, is realized, it indicates Krishna. And such meanings are non-different from Krishna. One who chants the names of Krishna benefits his audience. And after achieving his own auspiciousness, he merges in the ocean of ecstasy due to remembrance of the Lord. When words indicate objects not related to Krishna, then the conditioned souls forget their constitutional position and consider themselves the enjoyers. At that time, the senses turn from the service of Rishikesh and lord it over Rishikesh's external energy. And that's our constant battle, is it not? Constant. So, the Lord's instruction, chant the name of Krishna, it's the prime example of the Lord's magnanimity. The name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. Only Krishna, in the form of Guru, can teach this. Becoming initiated into this teaching and eagerly preaching such teachings is service to Sri Chaitanya. In order to make this known, Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Namacharya Haridas followed the order of the Lord. One who knows Sri Nityananda Prabhu as the origin of Guru Tattva, and who, after being freed from the bondage of material existence, chants Krishna's name, which appeared in the form of a dress from the mouth of Sri Namacharya Haridas, will be delivered from all material obstacles and attain Krishna Prem. So these two personalities, Nityananda Prabhu, the origin of Guru Tattva, the original pure name himself, right? And then the original instructor and receiver of service, and Sri Namacharya Haridas, the empowered teacher of that process together. If you meditate on them, pray to them, will also be delivered from all material obstacles and attain Krishna Prem, which is the goal of all living entities. Through Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Gaurasundar has imparted the qualification for chanting the name of Krishna to every human being. We all have that. That qualification is there. It's dormant, prakritam hridasadyata. It's within our heart. And by the mercy of Guru, that dormant qualification becomes uncovered and awakened. The names and the person are non-different. Therefore, as soon as the holy names are chanted, love of Krishna is guaranteed. Only Krishna can say this. Since Krishna Prem is unattainable for persons who are absorbed in thoughts of objects not related to Krishna, the vibration of words that are not meant for the glorification of Krishna results in material bondage. Quote, let the people of the world engage in glorifying Krishna. Although this order was given to the original Sri Jagat Gurudev and Sri Namacharya, since these two acharyas carried out this order of the Lord, all pious persons who follow this order will also certainly become qualified to act as acharyas, who alone are able to fully engage in the service of Sri Chaitanya. That's very important. Following that order, one becomes empowered. One time, in an assembly of devotees during the month of Kartik, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj was speaking from the stage, and he was exhorting people to take this holy name, take this chanting, and do Naga Sankirtan. And because the subject had been Nam-Tat for so many things, I raised a question. And I asked, most of us are on the Kanishta platform. And so when we chant, our chanting is infected with aparad, right? At best, some small bit of namabas. What benefit can the people have who hear our chanting? It's not Shuddhanam. It's not like the chanting of Haridas Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu, the associates. How will they get that mercy, right? What power is there in that? And he says, he said exactly what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is saying here. The phrase Bhaja Krishna is explained as follows. Sri Chaitanya Dev ordered the two preachers to appeal to the conditioned souls to engage in the worship of Krishna. Since the living entities who are averse to Krishna are attracted to objects that are not related to Krishna, they take shelter of the enjoyment propensity with the desire to become the controller. I lost my place here. Sorry. Since the living entities who are adverse to Krishna are attracted to objects that are not related to Krishna, they take shelter of the enjoyment propensity with a desire to become the controller of those relatively inferior objects. Therefore, giving up the worship of Krishna, they consider sense enjoyment as the goal and desire to become the master of that. Such activities are impediments in their worship. Persons who are averse to the worship of Krishna have various qualifications in this world. In order to achieve those qualifications, the living entity gives up the worship of Krishna and engages in the service of the six enemies headed by lust and anger, and in this way he invites inauspiciousness by thinking himself the enjoyer of this material world. For the benefit of the living entities, the most magnanimous Sri Vishwambar ordered the two Prabhus, Sri Nityananda and Haridas, to preach the concept of worshiping Krishna under the shelter of the holy name. Wait, I missed what I wanted to, I skipped over that phrase that inspired. Okay. This is what I read beyond the point where I wanted, what I was speaking about us going out and what is the benefit. And Srila Narayan Maharaj said that because you have been ordered by Guru, your chanting in public, your Nam Sankirtan is empowered, carries the power of the Guru. So this statement of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, which I read, but then I went beyond it, he said that, he quotes Mahaprabhu, "Let the people of the world engage in glorifying Krishna. Although this order was given to the original Sri Jagat Gurudev and Sri Namacharya, since these two acharyas carried out this order of the Lord, all pious persons who follow this order will also certainly become qualified to act as acharyas, who alone are able to fully engage in the service of Sri Chaitanya." What's a pious person? A pious person, someone who's taken up bhakti, who's trying sincerely to follow the order of the Lord. Doesn't mean you're perfect, but if you carry out this order, you become qualified. And Srila Prabhupada also said that. Become guru. Go out, preach, chant. You will become empowered. And that indeed is how he spread his mission so quickly all over the world. Because he gave that order. He is the bona fide, in fact, he was Nityananda Avesh, specifically empowered in an unimaginable way by Lord Nityananda, so that his disciples, and we were by our own nature very unqualified, but by his power, faith in the holy name, faith in teachings of Sri Krishna, faith in Bhagavad Gita was instilled in the hearts of others, right? So this is going to go on a bit longer, so I'm going to stop here and then tomorrow back up and reiterate and repeat some of this because it's very long purport. And I don't want to go too long here. So we'll stop here. Offer our most grateful obeisance, humble obeisance to the lotus feet of our divine guardians, teachers, acharyas, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, all of our Upanuga acharyas, and to all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Gaur Premanande.